Steve Highway, who's the academy director, said he'd only ever done it before with 2 players, and it was Michael Owen and Stephen Gerald.
Because you said some big names there.
Yeah, well, that's listen, I haven't lived up to their names, you know what I mean? But, and if you want to do anything in life, you get out what you put in. I just remember him looking back up at me, I sat on the bench and said, get your gear on, you're coming on. And again, I didn't expect it to be for Gary Neville, but that next day I got called into Alex Ferguson's office, and I thought it was going to be, listen, we've had a bid from Forest, what do you think or whatever. But he offered me a new 2-year deal. I'll go back to obviously Man United, Michael Carrick, Scholes, Giggs, Rooney,
big names,
normal guys, but they were just normal, nice, down to earth lads.
I've seen some pictures of their night out.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah,
that club was shocking me. Yeah. Let's get into it. I'm in Wellington, New Zealand to see Scott Wotton playing for Manchester United to now the Wellington Phoenix. We dive into his journey. Scott, thanks for joining me, mate.
Gerald, good
Appreciate
to see you, mate.
you. Thank you for bringing me into your home. Phoenix.
No problem.
Tell me about this new lovely training ground. You've shown me around.
Yeah,
been very, very nice. How does it feel to be part of a setup like this?
It feels great. Makes you feel like a top player. World-class facilities, beautiful pitches. We've got everything we need here, really. But it's just, I think it makes it more enjoyable. You know what it's like when it's still a place of work for us at the end of the day. And if your place of work is top draw, then it makes it more fun and more enjoyable to come into work every day.
And the landscape as well.
Yeah,
it's not
beautiful.
a bad office to come into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, New Zealand itself is a beautiful country, and we're a bit, half an hour outside of Wellington where we are here. But no, it is top draw. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I will definitely touch a little bit more about the facilities and about your journey. Coming to the Phoenix, this part of the world is very interesting. You've been here for a little while, but before we get into this part of the world, we're going to take it back to where it all started in Wirral.
Yeah.
How was that like for you growing up as a youngster there, and then going to Liverpool, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and then transitioning to Manchester United? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I had a great childhood, great upbringing. The Wirral is basically next door to Liverpool, so massive football city, really. Most people from there will be Liverpool or Everton fans. Tranmere Rovers is the local club.
And you was?
I was Everton as a
Everton,
kid.
Yeah, okay.
Didn't get a choice, really. My dad and his dad were big Evertonians, so you don't get a choice in most cases. And then started playing football from as young as I can remember, really kicking a ball about in the house. And then it just goes from there. Like, listen, you know what it's like anyway. 95% of kids play footy from a young age, and I actually was at Tranmere before Liverpool. I was at Tranmere for a couple of years in the School of Excellence there. Started playing there for my county, for Wirral Borough County, playing against Liverpool and different boroughs of Liverpool, Sefton, Huyton, all these teams, and then made the move to Liverpool. I think when you start playing for your counties, more scouts and stuff, people start coming more. And then had a choice between Crewe, funnily enough, Man United at the time, and Liverpool. But I think with geography from where I was living, my family, we made the decision with being in school. That extra drive up to Manchester or Crewe would have been a bit too far. But my dad was brilliant, really. My dad was very deep thinker, and he researched stuff, and we looked at Crewe as a good option. Of if you go there and you do well, they love to put young players into the first team. And then obviously at Man United and Liverpool were two amazing clubs with great youth facilities and history with youth players. So I think that at that age, I was only 12, I think, and the geography of Liverpool probably swayed my decision. But no, it was brilliant. I had a great time there. Still made lifelong friends there, actually. Still probably really good friends with a lad who I played with there now. I still speak to him all the time. And it was great. Great upbringing. Really good level of coaching and great experiences. We used to go for tours abroad and stuff all the time, and into Europe, and it was great time. And
you made your under 18s debut at 14, is that correct?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Right. Tell me about that, because you've obviously had something to be making your debut at that age, at the age of 14, to be playing under 18s. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was amazing. I went on a tour at 14 to America with the under 18s, and Steve Highway, who's the academy director, said he'd only ever done it before with 2 players, and it was Michael Owen and Stephen Gerald.
Wow.
So to hear that at that age, because at that age, looking back now, I didn't think I had anything sort of special or in particular, technically or physically. but Steve Highway, who was the academy director at the time, he just took a real liking to me. I think it was my attitude that probably got me that, and my mental strength.
Was that, sorry to cut you off, was that a lot of pressure? Because you said some big names there.
Well, that's listen, I haven't lived up to their names. You know what I mean? But,
well, you've had a good career, mate.
Yeah,
you've had a good career.
No, listen, he just told me. I remember I had to come out of school.
Yeah.
And like you say, it was like, wow, that was the first time the penny sort of dropped at 14, where you probably think, I actually could have a chance here of making having a career in professional football, because from the ages of 8, 9, that's all you want to do, as you know. So I think that was the first moment when I look back, I think, wow, I've got a chance here. If he's comparing me to them players, and like I say, I never. He's obviously had 2 unbelievable careers.
Ballon d'Or winner.
Yeah, Ballon d'Or winner. I didn't quite get there, but when I look back, I think it was great time. And that following season, after that tour, I played a few games as an under 15 player, being 14, for the under 18s team, which was huge, stepping up sort of 2 age groups. So that was the sort of time that I realised that I could have a chance here of having a career in the game.
Wow, mate, that is. And then the United move, because you've gone to arch rivals.
Yeah,
Manchester United. What was that like?
Yeah, it was difficult to be honest. So I played for the under 18s. I was progressing really well at these ages, and played for England under 17s. So things were going really well. Yeah. Liverpool. The big reason when I look back now, Liverpool youth team had won the Youth Cup 2 years on the bounce.
Okay.
So it's like youth football. That's the highest thing you can do. You can't do any more than that. Yeah. And again, I have to give my dad sort of huge credit here. He'd be always looking and researching stuff, and no Liverpool players from that youth team were even getting a game for the reserves. Never mind getting close to the first team. And going back to when I signed for Liverpool, when I said Man United were in for me as well, the scout used to call up every year and just see how I was getting on, check up on me, as he being kept on for another year. And he rang up this year, the end of my midway through my under 16 year, which is your final year at school. And he was like, no, look, he's not happy. And not just me, the whole club wasn't happy at that point. I think Rafa Benitez had a big pull on the academy. Okay. The people who really rated me, Steve Highway, Dave Shannon, they'd all been sacked. And the whole club was changing. A lot of foreign players were coming being bought into the first team as young players and into the reserves. So the pathway was massively blocked. And again, my dad, massive credit, was doing a lot of research, looking at the Man United players, and they hadn't won the Youth Cup for a long time. Yeah. But they were all getting games for the reserves, and you could see they were coming on the bench in the first team in the Carabao Cup, whereas the Liverpool players who'd won the Youth Cup 2 years on the bounce seemed miles away. So it was actually a really big decision at the time. It was tough, but you never know how your career would have panned out if it had stayed, what would have happened, because hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I don't have any regret looking back. Man United was absolutely incredible. So it was a tough decision at the time. A lot of thought went into it with my family, and my dad done a lot of research and things like that. But it's one I don't look back on with any regret whatsoever.
I hear you speaking a lot about your dad, and in terms of the foundation there. What would you say is the most valuable lesson that he's taught you?
I think to do extra, and if you want to do anything in life, you get out what you put in. And he was always on at me. He never put any pressure on me at all to become a footballer, or he was always very, listen, if you want it, he'd let me know what you had to do to get there. And I think it was that work ethic that he instilled in me. And I remember we used to go out to the park all the time. We'd practice together, and he'd never. I used to, when I was a kid, I'd do one thing that he'd ask me, and then I think I've cracked it, and that was it. And he'd be like, no, you got to do it 10 times every single time. That's when you've cracked it, and that sticks out in my head. Because you don't really know when you're a kid, you don't know what it takes. But yeah, they're the biggest things. And if he never instilled that in me from a really young age, then I would have had no chance. Wow. And you're a father yourself now? Yeah. Would you take those life lessons to absolutely your children now? Absolutely, yeah. Listen, you get out what you put in. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. Yeah, absolutely. I've got a fun fact for you, Scott. Yeah, go on. Can't remember the year. I was going to say the year, but I can't remember the year. You might tell me a little bit later on. But testimonial, Gary Neville. Yeah. We've got inspiration from Gary Neville over that. Yeah, that's what I feel like I'm on. Testimonial, Gary Neville. I was there at that game. You came on for Gary Neville. Yeah. Yeah. Was you there at the game? I was there at the game, mate. I came for Juventus, to be honest with you. Yeah. But I remember you came on for Gary Neville. Wow.
That is unbelievable. And now we're in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Wow. And that's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable,
mate.
I was at the game, mate. Wow. Yeah. I was at the game.
Yeah.
How was that like for you?
Oh, that was amazing. Because
that was your first game, right, for United?
Yeah, obviously not competitive.
Yeah, competitive.
Game, being a testimonial, but that was my first sort of first team fixture. I just had a really good season in the reserves. I'd been on loan to Tranmere in League One for what used to be able to go on a month emergency loans. Then I think I'd done 2 months at Tranmere, done well, and then I think it was a bit of a reward or a bit of a treat from the manager, Sir Alex Ferguson. He named me in the squad for Gary Neville's testimonial, and it was like wow. And some of the players, I think you'll probably know
Trezeguet played, Buffon played,
Nedved, I think
Nedved,
all these world class players you grew up watching, and all of a sudden you're on the same pitch as them. And again, to come on for Gary Neville, I didn't expect that at all. I just thought it was a bit of a reward to go and see what it's like in the first team sort of thing. And obviously it was a lot more relaxed with it being a testimonial. But I remember him looking back up at me. I was sat on the bench and said, "Get your gear on, you're coming on." And again, I didn't expect it to be for Gary Neville, but I'm stood waiting to come on, and the whole Old Trafford standing ovation, obviously for Gary Neville, for Gary Neville. So that was a great experience. But again, these things you don't ever look back on these things until you bring them up like this. It's good to.
That's incredible
to think of these experiences. Yeah,
I wasn't going to bring him up too early, but you mentioned him, Sir Alex Ferguson, one of the greatest managers, if not the greatest manager of all time. Yeah. What was that like, being around him and that aura?
Yeah, that's what you just said it before I said it, the aura. He just had this, just an aura that I've never seen anyone else have. Obviously, he built it over years and years of success, so by the time I joined the club, it was already instilled. But we could be here now having a laugh and a joke, and he'd walk past and you just instantly stop straight away. It was unbelievable. You wouldn't want to ever be seen to be laughing or joking or not doing anything seriously. It was unbelievable. But what a manager, and just his attention to detail. He knew everyone's name. He might say something to you for 10 seconds, but it was like you hung on to every single word. You know what I mean? And it was that's. And to be fair, Gerald, when I look back and think of my time at United and the fact that I played a couple of games, the fact that it was under him is the biggest pride that I've taken. That and that's not taking anything away from lads who've made the debuts, who've come up through the academy in the future, and most of them have gone on to have great careers, and they still played for Man United. But I just think the fact that it was under Sir Alex Ferguson is that extra bit special. Yeah,
for sure. And the time arrived for you to move on from Manchester United. How was that transition? Did Sir Alex Ferguson come to you and speak to you about it, or
no? So
what was that like?
The season before, I could have signed with Nottingham Forest. I'd been on loan at Nottingham Forest the season before, and the assistant manager had took over as manager, a guy called Sean O'Driscoll. He tried to sign me, and I wanted to go because I loved my time there at Notts Forest. I felt like I'd done everything I sort of could at United. I played in the first team. I'd been on loan. I'd had a sample of playing football in the Championship, which was I loved. Forest was a great club, and I remember it was in the January. I really wanted to go, and I remember we had a reserve game, and the reserve manager, Warren Joyce, said to me he must have had a phone call that morning from somebody at Forest, and I was like I say, I wanted to go, but that next day I got called into Alex Ferguson's office, and I thought it was going to be, listen, we've had a bid from Forest, what do you think or whatever. But he offered me a new 2-year deal, but he was sending me on loan to Peterborough.
Oh wow!
Obviously where his son was the manager, so I was like, right, okay. That was that. You don't really argue with Sir Alex Ferguson over them things. I went to Peterborough. Long story short, I got an injury, ruled me out for 6 months, tore my hamstring off the bone, which was a blow. But then in that, as I was rehabbing, I was going back and forth over him. I had 2 meetings, I think, over my contract, and then he announced he was retiring. He was leaving. So I was sort of a little bit in limbo.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, what do we do here now? I've got a 2-year contract. We don't know who the manager's going to be. Or it was obviously strongly linked that it was going to be David Moyes.
David Moyes, yeah.
Didn't know what. I was 21, I think, at the time. Okay. So I felt like it was really time for me to become a first-team player. Obviously, at Man United at the time, you had Rio, Vidic, Johnny Evans. The PK had just long been sold. They just signed Chris Smalling and Phil Jones for big money.
Yeah.
Who were similar ages to me. So I just weighed everything up and thought, right, this is now time for me to move on. You know, like I say, I'd played a month at Tranmere. I'd spent a season on loan in the Championship, or 18 months if I hadn't been injured. So I felt like I was ready to go and be a Championship player. And yeah, that was that. I made the tough decision again in the pre-season. I thought I'll wait to see. I want to speak to David Moyes, see what he thinks, what he says. So I went to see him a couple of weeks into pre-season and said, look, you know, I've got this offer on the table from the previous manager. What are your thoughts? What are your plans for me? And he just sort of said, listen, I remember saying to him, I'll sign the contract, no problem, if you can guarantee me I'll go out on loan.
Yeah.
Because at that time, the reserve team had just changed to the under-21s.
Okay.
So I didn't want to be 21, 10 and 22 playing in the reserve, the under-21, sorry. So I felt like it was a make or break moment. He said, listen, I want to have a look at the old club. I'm new into the job. I need to get a feel for everyone, all the players. So no one will be going out on loan for the first 6 months. So that sort of made my mind up, really. And then, yeah, signed for Leeds.
Wow. That's incredible. That's a bit of a journey there. So I'm just thinking back in terms of Sir Alex Ferguson, for him to advise you to go to Peterborough, he must have had a lot of trust in you, because he wouldn't recommend any player to his son like that. Yeah,
listen, I think he obviously rated me. You know, to play me in them games that he did. To send me to his son at Peterborough in the Championship. You know, I guess trust is a decent word. Because I think of the players who went to Preston. With Danny Welbeck, Matt James, who was a top player, Josh King, who's had a great career. They went to Preston. So yeah, I guess he did have a little bit of trust in me. Wow.
So we'll move on. We'll talk about the journey through Football League. What was that like? You know, leaving such a big club like Manchester United and then going through the Football League, which you've been to a lot of Premier League clubs that are playing in the Premier League now. Nottingham Forest, Leeds.
Yeah.
You know, tell me about the Football League journey. What was that like for you?
Yeah, great. I think when you sample it, going back to time at Man United, when you're on loan and you go and have a taste for it, you want that every week, that feeling of playing for 3 points, playing in front of big crowds. You know, Leeds was great. You're playing in front of 30,000 fans every home game, every away game. They were packed out. It was great. I think reflecting on my personal journey, I'd say from 21 to 25, I was a Championship player.
Yeah.
You know, Peterborough, Notts Forest, Leeds, Rotherham, 4 clubs, 3 on loan, all in the Championship. I think played just short of 100 games. And then from 25 to 29, 30, I was probably a League One player. A couple of injuries, touched on before, done me ACL, which didn't help.
How long was you out?
Just a roller coaster. ACL was 11 months.
Talk to us about that. That's real a mental strength there.
Yeah, it was tough. I think they're becoming more popular now, though. That's not a great thing. Alex Roof had it. He came back from one last season as well. I think for me, it was more the timing of it. So I just left Leeds, had a big debacle over a contract issue there. Signed for MK Dons, and they'd just been relegated from the Championship into League One, and I played against them twice the year before for Leeds, and they were top team. They absolutely battered us. We took 4 points off them, and I'll never know how. And 4 games in, I'd done it.
Yeah.
So that was the real blow, because I went there and I was flying. To be fair, it was some of the best. It was only 4 games, but it was. I felt really, really confident. I hit the ground running straight away. It was 4 of the best games that I'd possibly played. So I felt really good. I was really confident that we was going to get back promoted. Carl Robinson, who'd been promoted with them before, we had a really good side, loads of good players. And then it was just the blow of doing it then, missing. There's never a good time to have an injury like that, but it was more just the timing of it. It was far from ideal. But it is what it is. You know, like you say, mental strength, you've got to get through it. There was no option of doing anything else as far as I was concerned. You just had a great physio, great medical setup there. And it is what it is. You just got to crack on and get on with it.
Who was supporting you during this time? Away from the club?
My family, my parents, my girlfriend. I had a 3-year-old, I think, at this, 1 or 2-year-old at this particular time, who were there for me every step of the way. So I owe them a lot. They know that. They got me help get me through that. But again, apart from the initial, when you find out that day or two, there's a few tears and you're a bit cut up and you're gutted, but very, very quickly you have your surgery, and then it's you're back on the road to recovery then. So it was, you know, there was no real sort of sob story or sort of mental health thing or anything like that. It was just, this is what it is. You've got to get back. It was no option for me to do anything else, and you know, that's it. Like I say, there was nothing else.
Yeah, incredible. One thing that I picked up from you being around you for these last couple of weeks since I've been in New Zealand is that you've been around the highest level, played in the Champions League, played around some of the biggest players, very down to earth as a person you are. I would say very welcoming. Where does that come from? Because, sorry to cut you off again so early, there's a lot of people that would use that experience and feel like they're better than everybody else. But for yourself to be such welcoming and very down to earth, like where does that come from?
Don't know really. I appreciate your words, Gerald, but I think that's from your family, isn't it? And I think going back to what you said about being around top players, the best players are the most humble. And what I experienced, I think it's the players who you could class as big time or big time Charlies or they're full of themselves are the ones that are a little bit insecure and they feel like they have to do them things for people to recognise them as being a good player. Whereas, you know, I'll go back to obviously Man United, Michael Carrick, Scholes, Giggs, Rooney. They
big
were
names,
just normal guys, but they were just normal, nice, down to earth lads who liked other sports. Obviously, they had unbelievable cars, but they weren't, you know, rose gold or had all this fancy work on them. They were just nice, normal cars. They had normal clothes. They were just normal.
I've seen some pictures of their night out. I don't know if you've seen it. That club was shocking me.
Yeah, seen it.
Did you have a pair of those jeans?
Yeah, probably did, because they were probably the fashion at the time. No?
Well, it's come back now.
Yeah,
it's come back now. It's come back. It's come back. Incredible.
And even going back even further, it's your parents, it's your upbringing, you know, and my friends from where I grew up and where I'm from, they wouldn't allow you to start thinking you were anything else, because they quickly bring you down a peg or two. Do you know what I mean? But I just think it's the way you're at, the way you've been brought up, again, from your family, your friends, and seeing the top players. You know, I was aspiring to be the best player I could. So when you've got them role models and them examples around you, John O'Shea, Wes Brown, these types of characters, you know, it's easy to follow and see what they do. And when they're just normal human beings and there's no ego about them and all what they've done and what they've achieved, and they just get on with the job. You think, oh, if they can do that, then that's what I should be doing. You know what I mean?
Incredible. So last little bit here. The Phoenix, New Zealand, other side of the world for you. Where did that come from, and why did you say yes?
Well, it came from same as probably all moves, really. Agents. The loan spell we touched on earlier, Peterborough. I played with David Ball, who's here. We sort of kept in touch over the years. You know, hours ago, and when he came over here, I spoke to him. He spoke very highly of it. And then I think it was the summer of 2021, we were talking and he just said, would you fancy coming over here to play? And I said, well, yeah, because again, it was the roller coaster. I wasn't really very happy with the way my journey was going. And I just thought, I fancied a change of scenery, different league. I probably regrettably turned coming over to the A-League down, particularly once before in the past. And I just thought he put me in touch with his agent. We spoke. A couple of things didn't work out that first summer, and in the January, this came up, and I thought, absolute no-brainer. So that's how it come about.
Brilliant, man. Do you regret it?
No, not at all. No, it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. You know, like I said, just then, I wasn't happy with the where I was going in my path and my journey at this particular time. You know, like I said, the timing of a couple of injuries and stuff don't help, but I don't want to use that as an excuse. I think I was at Plymouth, and then I signed for Wigan in the January before I spoke to the agent. And you know, Wigan I'd always seen as a good club, a championship club. I went in there, done a good job for Wigan. We stayed up in League One. They'd had some trouble off the pitch, and then that didn't materialise for one reason or another that summer. So I thought, right, okay, I fancy a change now. I want to start afresh, different challenge. Because of COVID, there's a few things over this part of the world didn't happen in that summer. There was a couple of things bubbling along nicely, and then for COVID, it didn't happen. So then I signed for Morecambe, my second child. was very, very young at the time, so I wanted to be in the Northwest. Morecambe were in League One. I didn't want to drop down into League Two. So I signed there with an agreement that if something came abroad, I could explore them options, and thankfully it did in the January, and here I am now. Yeah, in sunny. This is meant to be winter, by the way.
To be fair, we've been lucky today. Yesterday was even better. You said.
Yeah, exactly. No, very, very happy with the decision. Don't regret it at all. I think it's been a great one for me personally, and it just sort of gave me like a reboost and a re-energise me for football, and got me real love back in it.
Away from, I guess do you feel a bit detached? Because I feel detached from the world a little bit being in New Zealand, but I think, like you're saying, sometimes we need that reset, don't we? So in terms of your career, going through the Football League to explore this beautiful country as it is, to play in the A-League, I think, again, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to speak to you about that. I'm sure there's a lot of young players that are probably going to be watching this and seeing your journey and thinking, you know what, if Scott can do it, I can do it as well. Travel across the world. It might be daunting at first because, you're quite far away from family and friends, etc. But, you've done it, you're doing it, playing in one of the best leagues, I guess, in this part of the world. And the facilities, again, are incredible here. Hopefully we'll get more of a tour for everybody else to have a look at. But, it's incredible, mate. I really appreciate your time. No problem, and I wish you all the best. We'll do a quick fire round. Not now, we'll do that later, but we'll do a quick fire round, okay? Nice one. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you, mate.
No worries.
Thank you.